This is Locked On's 2025 NBA Top 100 Players, as voted on by the local hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the release of the Locked On Podcast Network's NBA Top 100 Players. I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Sports Today, and over the next hour, we will reveal the list, get insight from our local hosts, and make several fan bases angry, at least. Over the past several weeks, our stable of local and national NBA hosts have been voting for the players they feel have earned spots on this list. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Now, we do things a little bit differently around here with lists. We start with the best. The number one NBA player for 2025 is, maybe no surprise, Nikola Jokic. The three-time MVP, finished runner-up a year ago, averaging 30, 13, and 10 with 2 steals on ridiculous efficiency. The Nuggets lost in a 7-game series with the Nuggets. Is Jokic still the best player in the world? Locked On Nuggets host Swipa has more.
Nikola Jokic absolutely is the best player in the world and deserves to be ranked number one in the top 100. I'm Swipa, and I wanted to host of Locked On Nuggets, and let me tell you why Nikola Jokic should be number one in the top 100. We just witnessed maybe the greatest offensive season ever in which a player averaged 30 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals. He's the only player in NBA history to finish top three in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. He also did this by shooting over 41.7% from three. And if you take out the heaves, he was shooting 44% from three this year and 63% from two. The only player in modern NBA history to score at the level that he did on the splits he did is Kevin Durant. And for 47 games when he played for the Brooklyn Nets, we just haven't seen that kind of scoring efficiency, playmaking, rebounding, the screen setting, all of it, even the defensive contribution with the hands. Jokic is a one-on-one player, and he deserves to be the number one player on the top 100.
Coming in at number 2 on the list, the guy who won NBA MVP last year, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, also the Western Conference Finals MVP and Finals MVP. The 3-time All-NBA guard led the league in scoring a shade under 33 points a game on jaw-dropping efficiency for a guard, shooting over 51% from the field, 37% from three, and 89% from the free throw line. Don't forget about me. At number 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo checks in here. The Bucks superstar averaged 30, 12, and 6.5 assists, finishing 3rd in MVP voting. Milwaukee trying to get back to contention after falling in the first round to the Indiana Pacers last season. A stunning midseason trade sent number 4 to the Lakers, where Luka Doncic averaged 28, 8, and 7, plus a steal per game. The new face of the purple and gold, I don't know if you've heard, is in the best shape of his life this offseason. At number 5, the old guard still reigns. Steph Curry led the NBA in threes per game med last year, and free throw percentage, he shot 93%, en route to a 24.5 point per game average. Curry with Jimmy Butler, who was acquired during the February trade deadline, took them to the playoffs somehow, some way. Curry still top 5. Locked On Warriors host Charlie Walter explains why.
Steph Curry, still a top 5 player in the NBA? I'm Chuck Walter, the Locked On Warriors podcast, here to tell you why. That is factual at this point. And sure, it's hard to compare a player like Curry to a physical specimen like a Giannis or a Jokic, but he's still up there. 2 reasons why. Proof, winning, and we'll throw in a third, gravity. The proof is in the pudding that when Curry's on the floor, the team wins, and when he's not, it's not a great basketball team. You saw what they were able to do when Jimmy Butler joined the fold and he was revitalized, winning. He goes down, they start losing games to the likes of the Atlanta Hawks and the Miami Heat. Curry comes back, they beat the Houston Rockets. Curry goes down with a 1-0 lead over the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Warriors look bad, they lose right away. Also, the gravity, the number's great, but what he does for his teammates in terms of just commanding defenses on him and getting his squad open looks, that cannot be understated. I'm Charlie Walter, the Locked On Warriors podcast. For more Warriors takes, check us out on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcasts.
At number 6, Minnesota superstar Anthony Edwards led the Timberwolves to their second straight Western Conference Finals appearance in 2025, averaging 27.5 points per game, almost 6 rebounds and 4.5 assists. Remember, he was the number 1 overall pick. That talent certainly showing up now. Now it's time to get over the hump in 2026. At number 7, a potential future number 1, Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs phenom only played 46 games a year ago as the first-time All-Star was shut down in February while dealing with blood clots. In the meantime, he averaged 24, 11, and was going to moonwalk to the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year, flanked now by De'Aaron Fox and number 2 overall pick Dylan Harper. The Spurs hope to take that leap this season. Jalen Brunson checks in at number 8, from one of the biggest players in the NBA to one of the smallest, at least on the superstar list. Brunson led the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals a year ago, and the 2-time All-Star, averaging 26 and 7. At number 9, his rival potentially in the Eastern Conference, Donovan Mitchell, now a 6-time All-Star. Did you think that when I said Donovan Mitchell, 6-time All-Star, landed on his second All-NBA team last season? The Cavs had a 64-18 record, but flamed out in the postseason again. Mitchell is perhaps the biggest reason why they are among the top contenders for the 2026 title. Checking in at number 10, Jason Tatum, maybe a little bit lower down the list than you would have expected. And the Achilles rupture in the second round of the 2025 playoffs, potentially a reason why. Still, a year ago, Tatum averaged 27, 9, and 6 with a steal per game while finishing 4th in MVP voting. At number 11, new team, H-Town, Kevin Durant. He is the missing piece, at least the Houston Rockets hope when they traded for him this offseason. One of the most gifted scorers of all time, still dishing out insane numbers for his age, but he's not in the top 10. Locked on Thunder host Rylan Stiles breaks down Durant's spot in our top 100.
Kevin Durant should absolutely still be considered a top 10 player in today's NBA, and it's a mistake that he's not. What's up? This is Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked on Rockets. And look, KD hasn't played a single second of basketball for the Houston Rockets yet, and I still think it's a mistake that he's being ranked at 11th on the top 100 players poll, and here's why. It's fresh off a season where he averaged 26 points per game on basically 50, 40, 90 shooting splits. That scoring volume and that efficiency alone should be enough to get him in the conversation of the top 10. But then you start adding the context to it. It was on a Phoenix Suns team that was an absolute dumpster fire last season. They went 3-17 in the games that he didn't play. So he made them bearable. He made them a 500 team when he was available. Then you add in the defensive acumen as well. He was arguably the Suns' best defender last season, still an above-average defender for his position. That should be enough to get him in that conversation. And then you add a little bit more in the fact that he's arguably the most unguardable scorer in the NBA. At no worse, he's top 3 when it comes to just being unguardable, getting you a bucket when you need it. And I think that's more than enough to rank him over names like Jason Tatum, like Donovan Mitchell, and that should put him firmly in the top 10 conversation. For more Houston Rockets news and information, be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked on Rockets.
The Lakers fans might be mad about this one. At number 12, LeBron James, who quietly finished 6th in MVP voting last year, cracked all NBA second team a year ago, and get this, his 21st All-Star appearance. Another surprise here, the greatest of all time, not a top 10 player. Locked on Lakers host Andy Kamenetsky shares his thoughts.
This is Andy Kamenetsky, co-host of Locked on Lakers podcast, and the Locked on NBA channel has released its top 100 players, and LeBron James clocks in at 12. I know this is going to outrage some Laker fans. The dude just finished an all-NBA second team campaign. What's with this disrespect? For what it's worth, Brian and I both had LeBron at number 8 in our entries. But here's what really matters. Whether you think 12 is too low, too high, or just right for LeBron, doesn't change the fact that the Lakers are the only team in the top 100 with 2 players in the top 12, Luka at number 4 and LeBron at 12. Now, does this make the Lakers championship favorites? No, the roster is still top heavy with some skill set and positional redundancies, but 2 players in the top 12 by definition means you've got a foundation and floor for success. And that is something that Laker fans should be excited about. For more Lakers coverage, make sure you are subscribed to Locked on Lakers on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
At number 13, the breakout star of the 2025 NBA playoffs. Tyrese Halliburton brought the Pacers on a wild ride to the NBA Finals. Countless clutch moments before he ruptured his Achilles in the opening frame of Game 7. The table was set for an all-time game, and that injury just sucked the air out of it. He was All-NBA third team last year. We'll see what he looks like when he gets back to full health, because that Pacers team was incredibly fun last season. At number 14, Anthony Davis. We mentioned Luka Doncic. Here was the player going out in the Doncic trade. Played 51 games last year, averaging 25, 11 to go along with 3.5 assists while earning his 10th trip to the All-Star game. We'll see what he does with Cooper Flagg coming up this season. At 15, Cade Cunningham, the former number 1 overall pick, put together a breakout campaign for the Pistons, leading the Motor City Crew to a 44-38 record and making his first All-Star appearance, in addition to his first All-NBA team last season. At 16, another rising superstar, Evan Mobley, one of the best defenders in the NBA, earned his second All-Defensive nod and his first Defensive Player of the Year honor. At 17, Kawhi Leonard played in 37 games a year ago and round to averaging 21, 6, and 3. But everyone knows what Kawhi Leonard looks like when he's healthy. The problem for him, he'd probably be higher on this list if he were available a little bit more often. At 18, Devin Booker, the Sun season. Maybe the less said about that one, the better, but he was still outstanding. One of the better overall guards in the NBA, can score, can dish it out, 7 assists last year on terrific efficiency. Should Booker still be here, though, inside the top 20, Locked On Suns host Benjamin Garcia believes this is a disrespectful ranking.
Well, the Devin Booker disrespect continues as he comes in at number 18 on the NBA Top 100 list as ranked on by Locked On podcast hosts. Myself, Benjamin Garcia, host of Locked On Phoenix Suns. It's just interesting, man, how when you're out of the public eye for a short period of time, even just 1 year, that other hosts start to get really frustrated and put guys like Donovan Mitchell, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley over Devin Booker, all players that GMs would not take over Devin Booker. I guess playoff success just doesn't matter because one of those guys has actually been in the finals, had back-to-back 40-point games in the finals. But when you're out of the public eye, this is what happens. And if you're Devin Booker, you are then moving into a revenge season where you're going to try to take a better roster this year to the playoffs. And if he does that, he'll get more respect. Tune in to Locked On Phoenix Suns for more on this in a longer form version, but Devin Booker absolutely disrespected.
The Big Cat, Karl Anthony Towns, checks in at 19 in his first season with the New York Knicks. Towns made the All-Star squad and his third All-NBA team while shooting 42% from 3, scoring 24 and grabbing almost 13 rebounds a game, helping the Knicks make the Eastern Conference Finals after they rattled off 51 wins in the regular season. And the second cog on that Oklahoma City Thunder team, probably not the last OKC player we're going to see on this list, J-Dub, Jalen Williams, is here at number 20. On top of co-starring in the Thunder's first championship, Williams earned his first All-Star nod, made third team All-NBA, and played the entire postseason with a torn ligament in his wrist. The crazy thing is he could get even better. Coming up, some of the best guards in the East make the list here inside the top 40. The NFL season is finally here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Number 21 is going to have to carry the Boston Celtics this season without Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown, who made his fourth All-Star appearance last year, put up 25-5. This is his team now, and we'll see what the Celtics look like after a revamping of this roster this offseason in what feels like at least a gap year. Could he see his numbers skyrocket here, and could that push him up the rankings when we do this same exercise a year from now? At 22, Pascal Siakam made his third All-Star team while being a fixture of that Pacers finals team. It's not just the numbers with him. He was the Eastern Conference Finals MVP award. Without the gaudy stat totals, he just does everything. He is the glue for that Pacers team. Speaking of the glue at 23, Paolo Banchero. He dealt with injuries throughout the season. The whole Magic team dealt with injuries, and yet he was the constant. 26 points a game, 7.5 rebounds a game, almost 5 assists a game. And now the Magic, after a blockbuster move to acquire Desmond Bane, they're hoping to make that jump in the Eastern Conference and maybe sneak into the NBA Finals. At 24, James Harden just keeps doing it. For whatever criticisms you have, he just keeps on being one of the best players in the NBA. Last year for the Clippers, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists. He helped the Clippers team win 50 games, despite the aforementioned Kawhi Leonard not playing a ton of those games. Harden, meanwhile, played 79, his most since the 2018-19 season. At 25, Jaren Jackson Jr. checks in. The Grizzlies big man finished 7th in Defensive Player of the Year voting last season, but he was the driving force of that Grizzlies team with all of the inconsistencies and the injuries from Ja Morant. If I had told you 2 years ago, Jaren Jackson would be ahead of Ja Morant on this list, I think you might have called me crazy, but here we are. At 26, Trae Young. Last season, Young made his 4th All-Star team and finished 4th in Clutch Player of the Year voting. He's going to score. He led the league in assists last year, 11.6 per game, and the Hawks put in work this offseason to build the best team around Young in his career. That includes a team that already went to the Eastern Conference Finals. At 27, Darius Garland. He is the point guard for the best team in the NBA in the regular season last year. He shoots it effectively from the floor, 40% three-point shooter, an 87% free throw shooter, but had that toe injury in the playoffs, a big reason why the Cavs went out early. I mentioned Ja Morant. He doesn't fall too far here. He's 28, but still behind Jaren Jackson Jr. He played in just 50 games a year ago and saw his postseason cut short with another injury. Morant deserves to be higher, at least according to Locked On Grizzlies host Joe Mullinax.
Ja Morant at number 28 is the most egregious mistake on this entire list made by my colleagues here at the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Joe Mullinax of Locked On Grizzlies, and Ja Morant at number 28, behind some of the names that he's behind. Not after a suspension, not after an injury, not after any reason that should bring doubt into your mind that Ja Morant is not going to be able to suit up for the Grizzlies this season. After a 15 or so game stretch after the coaching change to Tuomas Isalo from Taylor Jenkins, where Ja looked more like himself. After a Game 3 performance against the Oklahoma City Thunder, where Memphis was up by 20-plus points in the first half, in no way, shape, or form am I trying to say that Ja Morant leads the Grizzlies to a series win against the eventual NBA champions. I'm trying to say that Memphis doesn't get swept, and I am most certainly trying to say that Ja Morant is not worse than 27 other NBA players.
It's the breakup king here at number 29. After a messy divorce in Miami, Butler hit the ground running with Golden State, logging 30 games in the Bay while averaging 18, 5, and 6. It's not just the numbers, again, with him. It's everything else he brings, the effort, the intensity, the pedigree. They lost in the second round to the Minnesota Timberwolves, but that roster just didn't have enough. Butler was one of the big reasons why they made it that far. At 30, Chet Holmgren, who I think you could make a straightforward case is the most likely player of this top 30 to be significantly higher this year. After inking his rookie max extension, many expect a leap from the 7-footer who averaged 15, 8, and 2 with 2.5 blocks per game last season. At 31, Bam Adebayo, the one constant in Miami's 78 games for the Heat last year, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. The big man finished 10th in the Defensive Player of the Year voting. He hasn't taken that step offensively, but he's just one of the most consistent, reliable players in the NBA. At 32, Domantas Sabonis led the NBA in rebounds per game at almost 14 boards per contest, including a league-high 10 defensive boards. Also put up 19 points per game, double-double machine. De'Aaron Fox checking in right here after his former teammate, now on the San Antonio Spurs. Fox was one of the big names, moved at the trade deadline last season, but played just 5 games with the aforementioned Victor Wembanyama. Still a 4-year, $229 million extension. Don't let me shortchange you with De'Aaron Fox. He averaged 23.5 points, 5 boards, and 6 assists last season. At 34, Jamal Murray, the Nuggets guard, logged 67 games a year ago. That's what he needs to do for the Nuggets. He has to be on the court and available because with him, they are an NBA Finals caliber team. Without him, they're just probably not. Is this too high for Jokic's right-hand man. Locked On Nuggets host Swipa explains why Murray deserves to be here.
Jamal Murray is one of the best players in the league, but his standing amongst his peers is one of the most highly debated you'll find. But he absolutely deserves to be in the top 100. I'm Swipa, and I'm one of the hosts of Locked On Nuggets. And let me tell you why Jamal Murray deserves to be placed around 34 on this list. He's one of the best shot makers, shot creators, isolation players, passers, and playmakers at the guard position that you will find. He's one of the best shooters in the NBA as well. And coupled with 6'4" size, he is able to hold up defensively in a lot of matchups in the playoffs. Even just this last year, he had a 43-point game versus a absolutely stacked LA Clippers defense in Game 5. But Jamal Murray, one of the things that most brings criticism his way is his inconsistency. You just don't know. One night he'll have 55 points versus a very good Portland defense, and then another night he'll struggle, not be able to find his shot, and also lack some of the point of attack defense you need from a guard. But Jamal Murray, we've seen his highs where he's getting you a 30-point triple-double in the NBA Finals, and we've also seen him do some things that really not many other players have done, like having 32 5-5 on 50, 40, 90 in a Western Conference Finals. Jamal Murray, he deserves to be in the top 100. 34 is about where you would put him, but I also wouldn't be mad if you put him around the 40s as well. This is Swipa. This is your top 100.
Franz Wagner checks in here at 35, a career best scoring performance for Franz last season, but he only played 50 games because of injury, shooting a career high 87% from the charity stripe. That's why it's weird. He has not quite developed that three-point shot the way that it seems like his shooting stats would suggest. Wagner should be in line to become a first-time All-Star this season. At 36, Alperen Sengun earned his first All-Star nod a year ago while being the best player on a surprising Houston Rockets team that catapulted its way to the number 2 seed in the West, 19-10-5. That's just the casual day for Alperen Sengun. Now, he's got a true go-to scorer to play alongside him in Kevin Durant. Derek White at number 37, the role player extraordinaire for the Boston Celtics. It's not about the statistics for him, although he has good stats, 16, 4.5, and 5. One of the best defensive guards in the NBA. Shot a ton of three-pointers last year, 9 threes a game. That's a career high, but he is the connector, the facilitator, and at times the bucket getter for the Boston Celtics when they need it. At 38, Tyrese Maxey. Oh boy, he has had to see a lot in Philadelphia, dealing with a mash unit roster, the inconsistencies and the in and out of the lineup for Joel Embiid. Last year, he played 52 games, averaged 26 points per game. He is one of the best young guards in the NBA. The question is, what is your ceiling if Tyrese Maxey is your best player? They need Joel Embiid to be a true title team. Ivica Zubac is here at 39, one of the best defenders in the NBA and the brilliant pick and roll partner for James Harden. Last year, he was first team all defense for the first time in his 9-year career and finished 6th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. At 40, Kyrie Irving, who unfortunately suffered an ACL tear on March 3rd that will sideline him at least for the start of this season. But he was sensational last year for the Mavs, averaging 25 points a game. Coming up, a number of blossoming stars crack our top 60. Is your favorite player going to make the cut? Stay tuned. At 41, Scotty Barnes, stuck playing on a middling at best Raptors team. He played 65 games a year ago and just is a do-it-all player. 19 points, almost 8 rebounds, almost 6 assists in a career high, 1.5 steals. A game with a block thrown in there just for good measure. If the Raptors want to be more than middling, he's going to have to be even better. At 42, Jalen Johnson was on an all-star trajectory before suffering a torn labrum, which sidelined him for the final 3 months of the season. He was off to a hellacious start. 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists a game. He is one of the most exciting young players in the NBA. At 43, Julius Randle, now with the Minnesota Timberwolves, part of the Karl Anthony Challenge trade last off season. And the question was, could he give you the same thing that Cat did? Well, sort of. 19 points, 7 rebounds, almost 5 assists last season for a Western Conference Finals team. At 44, Aaron Gordon. And he is affectionately called Mr. Nugget because he just does everything for the Denver Nuggets. Maybe he wouldn't be as good without Nikola Jokic, but he is with Nikola Jokic, and he is awesome. A force multiplier for the Nuggets, does everything they need him to do, 15 points, 5 rebounds, but that does not give you the full picture of how he impacts the game. He also shot a career best from 3-point last year, 43%, a 14 percentage point increase from the season before. At 45, OG Anunoby. This is a loaded Knicks roster. 18-5 last season. He is one of the best defensive players in the NBA. Anunoby created 1.4 points per possession as a cutter for New York a year ago. One of the big prizes of the offseason checks in at number 46, Desmond Bane, part of a blockbuster deal to send him to Orlando to lift the Magic's horrific three-point shooting performance as a team. Orlando ranked dead last in three-point percentage and now adds a 41% three-point shooter to the mix. At 47, it's almost hard to believe Zion Williamson is here. It's been hard to get Zion on the floor in New Orleans, but in the 30 games he did play, he's still really good, averaging 25, 7, and 5. Zion Williamson is one of the greatest what-if players we've ever seen. How on earth should we rank Williamson, who can't seem to stay on the floor? Locked On Pelicans host Jake Madison shares his take.
Honestly, 47 is right for Zion Williamson. I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast. I see no issue with ranking Zion the 47th best player next season in the NBA. Heck, I put him at 50 myself. Look, Zion has top 15 player talent. He's one of the most unique players in the NBA and scores in the paint basically like nobody else ever. And when he plays, the Pelicans win. But that's when he plays, and he just hasn't. 30 games last season, a whole missed season a couple of years ago. The track record of health just hasn't been there, and it's led to the Pelicans themselves even having conversations about trading him. You don't do that for a top 10, top 15, top 20 guy. Sometimes the best ability is availability, and that's the one quality Zion Williamson has not had. The talent is there, but if it never plays, what does it get you? For the Pelicans, it was a 21-win season a year ago. Until he puts in 2 straight years of health, I don't see how you can rank him in the top 30. For more on Zion and the Pelicans, subscribe to Locked On Pelicans on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
TikTok's favorite player, LaMelo Ball, here at 48, played in just 47 games a year ago. But when he plays, guess what? He's really productive. 25 points, 7 assists, almost 5 rebounds a game. This is a team of young players they are hoping to build, and LaMelo Ball has to be a foundational piece if they're going to do that. At 45, Amen Thompson, who took a massive leap in year 2, lands here becoming a first-time All-Star and finishing 5th in the Defensive Player of the Year voting. At 50, Tyler Hero, who made his first All-Star game appearance a year ago, averaged a career best, almost 24 points per game with 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Jimmy Butler out the door. Tyler Hero becomes the scoring engine for the Miami Heat. At 51, Rudy Gobert remains an excellent screen setter and defensive rim protector, earning him second-team all-defensive honors with Minnesota a year ago. It's not about the points. It's about the defense. And you know, when we're talking about screen setting, things are a little weird with the narrative around Rudy Gobert. That's true. But he still didn't make the top 50. Locked On Wolves host Ben Beacon isn't happy about this.
Rudy Gobert misses out on the top 50 in the Locked On NBA Top 100 list. A bit of a surprise, to say the least. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the daily Locked On Wolves podcast. And on my personal ranking list, I had him 45 on the list. He misses the top 50, ends up 51. I'll tell you why he should be a top 50 player. He still was a second-team all-defensive NBA player. Only a couple of players among the all-defensive teams did not make the top 50 on this year's list. The Timberwolves still, no matter how you slice it, had a top 10 defense, and Rudy Gobert was unquestionably the anchor of the Timberwolves defense this year, as he has been every year of his career, except for one. He's been on teams with a top 10 defense. He still had votes for NBA Defensive Player of the Year, and he just won it the year before. Yeah, the rebounding took a slight step backwards last year, but he was still effective. He obviously had the monster playoff game against the Lakers. It was a big part of what Minnesota did defensively, still block shots. And I'm honestly very surprised that he did not make the top 50. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Wolves wherever you get your...
We had some trouble deciding where to rank Zion, but ranking Embiid might be even more difficult. Locked On 76ers host Mark Farzetti discusses the lack of faith our hosts seem to have in the former MVP.
Mark Farzetta, Keith Pompey here, Locked On 76ers. We're here to talk about Joel Embiid on the top 100 being ranked at number 52. Keith, this tells me our colleagues here at Locked On think our boy Joel Embiid is completely washed. Your thoughts on Embiid at 52?
I would have to agree, because when you look at it at number 52, depending on where you want to rank Wemby, there's either 5 or 6 centers ranked ahead of Joel Embiid. And before, he was arguably the best player in the league. And, with that being said, Nikola Jokic and him battled for the best player and the best center. So I think there's not a lot of faith at all in Joel Embiid.
The greatest if in all of sports, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Joel Embiid and his health. If he stays healthy, not only could be another MVP, but the Sixers could also take a trip to go after the Larry O'Brien Trophy.
He's still one of the best defensive players in the NBA, the 53rd player on our list. Draymond Green, he was first team all defense last season, third in defensive player of the year voting. At 54, Damian Lillard, we don't even know when we'll see Damian Lillard this season, if we see him at all. He tore his Achilles during the first round of the NBA playoffs. Unfortunately, a trend on this list, some of the best players in the league. He's now out the door of Milwaukee. The Bucks stretched him this offseason to make room for Miles Turner. Lillard inked a 3-year deal with Portland after averaging almost 25 points and 7 assists last season. At 55, Lauri Markkanen has began a downward slide in Utah since his breakout season in that 2022-2023 season, where he earned his first All-Star nod, but Utah's also not been trying to win. I don't know how much of that I can blame on Lauri Markkanen. At 56, Trey Murphy. Every one of your favorite NBA analysts' favorite NBA player, Trey Murphy, is just a quiet assassin. 21 points, 5 rebounds, shot 36% from deep last year for the New Orleans Pelicans. Jared Allen lands at 57. He played all 82 games last season for the Cleveland Cavaliers to help them earn the number 1 seed. Led the league, shooting 70% from the field. And shooting is probably not fair. It's mostly dunks. 71% on 2-point field goals. His defense efficiency makes him the perfect big man for this Cavs team to lean on. Austin Reeves here at 58, just a 26-4 guy every team would want to have on his roster. Reeves has the chance to take an all-star step this season, getting a full year playing alongside Luka Doncic and LeBron James, maybe his last year with LeBron James. At 59, Mikal Bridges, in his first season with the New York Knicks following an offseason blockbuster trade, he was not the go-to scorer we'd seen him be at times in Brooklyn. Shot the second lowest three-point percentage of his career. And the Knicks need him to bounce back in a major way if they want to compete for a finals this year. At 60, Norman Powell had a rare year 10 breakout, maybe the biggest all-star snub from a year ago. 22 points per game as a scorer, shooting 41% from deep. Coming up, one of the best defenders in all of the NBA helps round out the top 70. The NFL season is finally here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Dyson Daniels was a breakout star last season, and he is 61 on this list. Finished second in Defensive Player of the Year, but bagged the most improved honors a season ago en route to a first-team all-defense nod. And, for good measure, a career-high 49% from the floor as a shooter. Is this ranking an overreaction? Locked On Hawks host Brad Rowland has more.
Dyson Daniels being at this point in the list is not an overreaction. My name is Brad Rowland. I'm the host of the Locked On Hawks podcast, and Daniels comes in at number 61 overall. That is a big jump from where he would have been a year ago, to be sure, but that's what happens when you win the Most Improved Player award in the NBA. Daniels still only 22 years old and just turned 22 years old, is already one of the best defenders in the NBA, full stop, number 2 in the league in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year, the most steals in a season in about 35 years, and it goes well beyond that. Steals, deflections, on-ball impact when it comes to isolation defense. He does it all defensively with the size and everything that you would want in a perimeter defender. But also, Daniels is a vastly improved offensive player. 14 points per game last year in a supporting role with more growth to come. A reminder that he was a lottery pick and a big-time prospect as a guard. Daniels is not out of place in this spot whatsoever and could rise even more next season. For more on the Hawks, follow Locked On Hawks anywhere you get your podcast, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, etc.
At 62, a name that may surprise you. Not if you're a hardcore NBA fan. You're Locked On Podcast Network listener. I'm sure you know all about Deni Avdija, who was a 17-point per game scorer, throwing 7 rebounds in there. Still just 24 years old. Was toiling in Portland a year ago, but as that team builds, could get more national recognition for what has been some stellar improvement. At 63, Brandon Ingram played in just 18 games for the New Orleans Pelicans before joining the Bourbon Street Baller Mash Unit after suffering an ankle injury, which didn't allow him to make his debut for the Toronto Raptors, despite that midseason trade. Fred VanVleet lands at 64 on the list, a stabilizing veteran force for the Houston Rockets a year ago with his playmaking ability. That 2 seed in the Western Conference, a great deal of credit goes to VanVleet for that. 14 points, 5.5 assists, not going to wow you, but he was the orchestrator, the guy who got everyone together on what was an incredibly young team. It gets a lot easier now that they have Kevin Durant. At 65, Jaden McDaniels, a career high 12 points. Not gonna break any records doing that, but is an integral piece for the Timberwolves, who found great success with this particular core, and he's a good enough shooter to keep defenses honest. At 66, Zach LaVine, who was traded at the deadline last February, going from Chicago to Sacramento, still does what he does. He can score 23 points per game last season, shooting a career best 51% from the floor and a career high 44% from deep. Things fell apart for Orlando when they lost the 67th ranked player on our list. Jalen Suggs was the tip of the spear on both ends for the Orlando Magic, averaging 16 points, shooting 31% from 3. That part has got to get better, but he sets the tone for that Magic team. And when he's not out there, you feel the difference. Alex Caruso, speaking of a guy who you feel the difference when he's not out there, Alex Caruso for the Thunder, he maybe swung that Oklahoma City series by guarding Nikola Jokic. He just does anything and everything he's asked to do. A career high 82% free throw shooting last year, 35% from 3. The ultimate work hard role player. DeMar DeRozan here at 69. After DeRozan joined Sacramento last summer, the Kings roster has been in flux, trading away De'Aaron Fox for Zach LaVine, and DeRozan might have a new home very soon. He's just one of the steadiest scorers in the NBA, 22 points a game on 47% shooting from the floor. It's just what he does. Isaiah Hartenstein lands here at 70. He ditched the bright lights of Broadway for Bricktown and immediately made a difference on a championship roster, netting his first title and keeping Oklahoma City in the driver's seat all year long, being cast as the starting center, which had Holmgren rehabbing from a fractured hip. One of last year's playoff breakout stars lands at 71. Andrew Nembhard became a household name as a role player for the Indiana Pacers during their finals run. Clutch play after clutch play, shots, defense, anything the Pacers needed, Andrew Nembhard gave it. At 72, Miles Turner, who was also on that Indiana Pacers finals team, now a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, playing alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo. Last year, Turner shot a career-high 39% from 3. That may even go up playing next to Giannis this season. At 73, Kobe White produced a career-high campaign a year ago. 20 points, 4.5 assists, almost 4 rebounds a game. The 25-year-old looks to be a possible building block in Chicago during the Bulls rebuild or a trade piece outside of Chicago. How many Oklahoma City Thunder players can land on this list? Lou Dort, one of the best 3-and-D players in the NBA. He's an elite point of attack defender that also shot a career best 41% from 3 a year ago and finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Kristaps Porzingis changed teams this offseason, looks to be a big part, if he can stay healthy, of the Atlanta Hawks this season, and was an integral part of the Boston Celtics when they made their championship run. Last year, only logged 42 games, but still averaged 19-7. The Atlanta Hawks could use that and his 41% shooting from deep. At 76, Paul George. This ranking is maybe not going to sit well with the front office for the 76ers, not because it's not justified, but because he signed a 4-year, $211.5 million deal last summer with the Sixers. Has PG really fallen off this badly? Locked On 76ers host Mark Farzetta explains why this ranking sort of shows you the state of things in Philly.
Paul George coming in ranked at number 76 seems about right for the 76ers swingman. Mark Farzetta, Keith Pompey, Locked On 76ers. Similar to other Sixers on this list like Joel Embiid, this shows me, Keith, that again, Paul George isn't expected to be healthy yet again in the upcoming season.
Yeah, it is. It does say that, but it also is kind of like give you a state of where the 76ers are. You know, we both agree that it seems about right. But it shouldn't seem about right when you talk about the success that the team wants to have, because 76 is a role player for the 76ers. So I don't know, man. It's the guys, I think they got it right, but it just doesn't look good for the 76ers this upcoming season.
Doesn't look good for the 76ers, and it doesn't look good for the 76ers fan base.
Drew Holiday lands at 78 on our list, a cap casualty for the Boston Celtics as they shed salary this offseason. The defensive ace shipped to Portland to help the Trailblazers try and compete for a postseason spot in the ultra-competitive Western Conference. At number 79, he cannot stop on podcasts. Michael Porter Jr. dealt with nagging injuries throughout the season in Denver, which hit a fever pitch in the second round against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Despite his ability to tough out the pain and compete, his immobility just made his sharp shooting inefficient. Now, Porter Jr. is headed to Brooklyn, where he's going to get all the shots he can take. Coming up, we finish up our top 100 rankings, starting with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Yeah, Cooper Flagg is here, baby. At number 80, a player who has yet to play an NBA minute. Now, not as high as Travis Hunter was in our Locked On NFL rankings, but Cooper Flagg lands at 80. Billed as a generational prospect, the Dallas Mavericks lucked into the top pick in the 2025 draft after trading superstar Luka Doncic. A rookie who has yet to play an actual NBA game is in the top 80. Does he deserve to be? Locked On Mavs host Nick Angstad says yes, and his ranking is too low.
A rookie in the top 100. Cooper Flagg absolutely deserves to be in that top 100. I'm going to tell you why. I'm Nick Angstad from Locked On Mavs. Cooper Flagg at number 80 is fine. And honestly, even probably a little too low, because Cooper Flagg is coming into the NBA as one of the most NBA-ready players that we've seen in a little bit. Even though he's 18 years old, he's 6'9". He's got great size. He is impactful on both ends of the court. And the thing about Cooper Flagg is we've already seen him play against NBA talent. He played against the USA Select team, the Team USA, in camp before he even played at Duke, and every single player raved about how good he was, how much he stood out, and all that. He's going to be good. He's going to be impactful early on. And the thing about him is he's impactful on both sides. We're not just hoping that, well, he's got to be able to get past defenders. He's got to be able to get his 3-ball to hit, or else he's not going to be impactful at all. He's going to be able to defend. He's going to be able to get his own shot here or there. And the Mavs are going to put the ball in his hands. And so he's going to have opportunity. Cooper Flagg deserves to be in this top 100. And honestly, if you look at ahead of him, I don't know, Andrew Nembhard, Kobe White, like Jalen Suggs is injured a ton, Jaden McDaniel. Like, I'm starting to look at the ones ahead of him and be like, maybe Cooper Flagg should be higher.
Another Timberwolves hits the list. 81, it's Naz Reid, winning the Sixth Man of the Year award in 2023. Reid finished 5th in Sixth Man of the Year voting a year ago. He inked a 5-year, $125 million deal this summer as a key cog in that Western Conference Finals team. At 82, Brandon Miller, who took a step forward in year 2, averaging 21 points and 5 rebounds. He shot 35% from deep. If Miller can continue this production in the trend line, he could earn his first All-Star nod in 2025. Our number 83 player needed a change of pace and role. Playing a more natural point guard position, Josh Giddey found just that. The former number 6 overall pick in the 2021 draft played for Billy Donovan for 70 games, averaged almost 15 points with 8 boards and 7 assists, shooting a career high 37% from 3. Giddey remains unsigned right now as a restricted free agent as he works toward a new deal with the Chicago Bulls. Herb Jones is hoping to be much higher up this list if he can stay on the floor in 2025. The former all-defensive player logged just 20 games for the Pelicans last year. Herb Jones expected to bounce back, but how many opportunities is he going to get on a very weird New Orleans team? The other Thompson twin lands here at 85, and Ausar Thompson wants to shed that moniker. He wants to be Ausar Thompson, and continuing to help a very good Detroit Pistons squad would be a great way to do it. He does a little bit of everything. He was on the all-defensive team last season with his brother, Amen. Immanuel Quickley sits at 86 on the list, played in just 33 games for Toronto this past season before an elbow injury in November, broke his season into 2 chunks. Quickley averaged 17 points per game on 37% shooting from deep. I guess we're just going to put the whole Knicks team on the list. 87, Josh Hart is the heart and soul of the New York Knicks, as aptly named a player as there is in the NBA. He averaged almost 10 rebounds a game as a 6'4" guard. Also almost 14 points and 6 assists in all of that. He is a defensive force for the Knicks, trying to capitalize on a wide open Eastern Conference this season. At 88, DeAndre Hunter, who finished 4th and 6th man of the year voting last season after being traded from Atlanta to Cleveland. Hunter averaged 17 points and 4 rebounds, shooting a career best 40% from the three-point line in 64 games. You can't say anymore it's the worst contract in the NBA because the Phoenix Suns bought out our 89th ranked player's contract. Bradley Beal now on a 2-way deal worth $10.9 million with the LA Clippers. We're still talking about a player who can absolutely shoot it in his 13-year career. That is what he has done the best, and that is what he can do for the Clippers. At 90, Aaron Nesmith, who took a massive leap during the Pacers finals run, allowing him to land here in the top 100, shot a career best 43% from deep after showing out in the playoffs a season ago. Why is Nesmith below so many other wing role players? Locked On Pacers host Tony East does not rock with this ranking.
Aaron Nesmith earned his spot in the Locked On NBA Top 100, and maybe, even certainly to me, deserves to be higher. Tony East here, host of Locked On Pacers daily podcast on the Indiana Pacers. Aaron Nesmith comes in at 90 in our Locked On NBA Top 100. That means 89 players are above him. Starter on the 2024 Eastern Conference Finals Indiana Pacers. Starter on the 2025 NBA finalist Indiana Pacers. Guarding Jalen Brunson in the conference finals and last year against the Knicks. Guarding strong wings or strong guards every series. Darius Garland among them. You name it. Nesmith's taking on that challenge. And oh, by the way, he's a 40+% three-point shooter with athletic bounce, would literally run through a wall for his team. I think his rating should be even closer to the 50s, 60s range. Few guys complement their defense and offense as well as Aaron Nesmith does. The only thing holding him back from moving up, his height. He'd be much better if he was in that 6'9" range like so many forwards. For more on the Pacers, check out Locked On Pacers on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Christian Braun lands in the top 100 here at 91, made the most of his chances as the perfect player next to Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. He put together a career high in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks last season, shooting a career high 58% from the floor and 39% from three. Maybe a change of scenery will help our 92nd ranked player. Jalen Green was a high volume scorer early in his career, but is yet to put it all together with efficiency. Now in Phoenix, next to Devin Booker, he's hoping to show he can be more than just an empty calorie scorer. Yes, he's flashy. Yes, Green is fun to watch, but is he a top 100 player? Locked On Suns host Benjamin Garcia says this spot feels about right for Green.
Phoenix Suns guard Jalen Green comes in at number 92 on the NBA Top 100 list, as ranked upon by all NBA Locked On podcast hosts, myself, Benjamin Garcia, host of Locked On Suns. And I got to be honest with you, the Devin Booker one felt very disrespected at 18, but Jalen Green at 92 feels about right. He is someone that I believe with the talent and the skill set that he has could be a top 30, top 25 player in the league, but he's at 92 because he's not consistent enough. Jalen Green is someone with the skill set that he has, the vertical jump, his ability to get to the rim. He's not a great three-point shooter. He's an average defender at best. These are all things that have to be more consistent. Even if his numbers come down just a little bit, but his efficiency goes way up, he turns into one of the better number twos in the league. But For now, this is where he's at. Tune in to the full shows of Locked On Phoenix Suns with myself, where we will dive deeper into this. But for now, Jalen Green at number 92 feels right.
A pair of versatile big men check in at 93 and 94 on our rankings. Jakob Poeltl for the Toronto Raptors at 93. Nikola Vucevic. Yes, Nikola Vucevic at 94. And yes, he's still a Bull despite all of the trade rumors that swirl around him. RJ Barrett lands here at 95. Did you know he averaged 21, 6, and 5 last year, shooting 46% from the floor and 35% from three? It's a pretty good season, and it seems like no one really noticed. At 96, he looks like he might be the athletic trainer in warmups. Peyton Pritchard, one of the assassins in the NBA, the NBA Sixth Man of the Year a season ago. 97, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Number 98, CJ McCollum, who went from New Orleans to Washington in the off season. We'll see where his career goes from here before he's on the Locked On Podcast Network pretty soon. At number 9, Anthony Simons, who goes from Portland to Boston as they try and fill out the roster in a gap here. He can absolutely shoot it. 42, 36, 90 shooting splits for him. And at 100, our last player on the list, Toumani Camara, burst onto the scene with his elite level of defense. Of course, Kamara's underrated, at least according to Locked On Blazers host Mike Richmond.
Of course, Toumani Camara is underrated. I'm Mike Richmond, host of Locked On Blazers, and that's just the nature of these things. A defense-first forward playing on a non-playoff team that doesn't have sexy box score stats. If you didn't watch him, you don't know. But Camara is simply one of the best defensive players in the league, a second-team all-defense performer last season, and easily, even if the rules were a little different for all defense, one of the 20 best defensive players in the NBA. He's that good. He's an above-average three-point shooter who upped his volume to 5.5 attempts per game. He is the quintessential 3-and-D wing who would play on any team in the league. He'd be part of every single playoff rotation in the NBA. He is the exact type of player every good team covets. That's what underrated looks like. So when we do this exercise again, he won't be 100. He'll be a lot higher.
Now you've seen the list. Go check out your favorite local Locked On NBA show and join the conversation around your favorite team. Or check out another Locked On show and rile up their fan base in the comment section. If you like the list, we'll be doing an NHL and MLB Top 100 coming soon. So make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports today to make sure you don't miss anything, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On's 2025 NBA Top 100 Players, as voted on by the local hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.